Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to the Hyfi Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. My name is Jeremy, here for another bonus episode. So if you're catching this in your regular podcast feed, this is the second of two bonus episodes that we're dropping. And the reason we're doing this is because we are wrapping up in the next month or so. We're wrapping up the first 3-year cycle of Hyfi, and we're looking ahead on our road to our second cycle. We're looking ahead to starting a new cycle, a new study plan in September of 2026. And in that, there are a couple of things that are changing. There's some things that are staying, lots of things that are staying the same. And so if you haven't watched our virtual unboxing video in our Facebook community, we want to point you over there. You can find that by searching My Hyfi on Facebook if you're not part of our Facebook community there. We also have some other videos that are dropping. We have these podcasts that are in your feed. We also have some blog posts that we're dropping about these two truths, which is what our podcast episodes are about, these bonus episodes. We did one on I am valued. God values me. That's one of the new truths, and that one's coming up in September. And then we have another truth that we are tweaking a little bit. The heart of it is going to be a little bit the same, but the language around it is going to be updated and changed. And so that's where we are, and that's what this bonus episode's all about. Kayla, thanks for being with me on this episode again.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
If you're listening to podcasts, you're very familiar with Kayla. She is a very, very frequent host and guest on our weekly training podcast. Although we were talking about this, Kayla, I don't get to be on the podcast very much.
I know.
And so these bonus episodes are really fun for us. Yeah, it's kind of fun for us to be able to do that together. So on this road to cycle 2, this second 3-year study plan that we're working towards, we did this in the first episode. So if you listen to the first one, we're going to do a little recap here. But just in case you're catching this one, I want to recap why are we needing to make some adjustments here on some of these identity truths?
Yeah. So obviously, all of the identity truths that we have in the curriculum and in the resource are biblically founded in Scripture, and they speak to the identity for a preschooler, a kid, or a student of who they are because of who God says that they are. And if you guys flip the script, you know that these 12 truths are positioned within 3 big categories of our position before God, God's plan for our lives, and God's purpose for us. And so this identity truth, let me back up. And all of those identity truths, we want to make sure that we are speaking with really clear language, and that we are speaking in terms that is really age appropriate, really culturally aware. And also just, being mindful of what kids and students and preschoolers are experiencing right now. And so we want to just kind of be aware of what's happening and be able to resource you as leaders to speak into those conversations in meaningful ways that really help kids, preschoolers, students understand their identity in Christ, and how that is an outflow of who God made them to be.
Yeah, so a couple of the truths are changing, which is what we're covering in these bonus podcast episodes. A couple of them are moving. A few of them are moving to a different location on the wheel to put them in different months. And again, if you haven't watched the virtual unboxing video that we did, check that out because that'll go into a little more detail about the why behind it. For this episode, though, we're focusing on this new truth. We're calling it. It is God. I am made new for kids and students, and God makes me new for preschoolers. Now, Kayla, talk us through, this one's got a little more history with it than even the last one did. Talk us through, what was the change, or why was the change needed? What was the change? What are we looking to accomplish?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a shift away from I am broken to I am made new. So just to address the elephant in the room, if you have used Hyfi in your July month, and you walk into a large group and you hear your leader from the front say, "Everyone say it with me, I am broken." Somehow the air just kind of evaporates from the room, right? And so we do feel like this truth is important. It is true. It is biblical that brokenness affects all of us. It is our position before God, before we have a relationship with God. So we think that it's important to speak about, and also we recognize the tension of making sure that the language that we're using is appropriate for where preschoolers, kids, and students are, and also is clearly communicating that brokenness is not an identity that we stay in. It's not an identity that we have to stay in, that there is hope, that we can be made new. And so that's why with preschool, that language is God makes me new, because we know the majority of preschoolers are pre-faith. And so we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but that's the simple truth. I am broken to I am made new for kids and for students, and from God cares when I hurt to God makes me new. So that language in the preschool space is also really different and will be more aligned to kind of the concept that we're teaching across all three age groups.
Yeah. And so you said it, but I want to reinforce, we've heard that has been a challenge, that I am broken language has been a challenge to be such a main idea. So forward facing. And as you said, to be clear, we're not hiding it. It's just that we want to shine the light in a different part of that. And so we will continue to talk about the brokenness in this truth, as well as I am forgiven. And really every single week in our sessions, when we go through the 3 circles, we continue to talk about the brokenness part of the identity. But this just allows us to point toward the hope that you mentioned. And so we're excited that we're able to, again, just shift that light a little bit to make it a little more hopeful for you in the sessions. And you mentioned this, Kayla. Let's spend just a moment here. What about those pre-faith preschoolers, kids, and even students, but particularly with preschoolers and maybe young kids in our ministry? How do we navigate this truth with those that are in that pre-faith stage?
Yeah. It's a very important question, and one that we talk about all the time, with whether we're talking about I am forgiven, I can be forgiven, God forgives me, or we're talking about brokenness, we're talking about being made new. We are continually aware, as you are, that our kids are on different faith journeys, right? And so some of them may be pre-faith, some of them may be in the faith, some of them may be questioning. And we want our language to be really, really clear of what we're saying and what we're not saying. And so as you look at these simple truths, think of them more as the umbrella, but then the dive deep is in those leader guides. It's in the Bible stories that you teach, and it's in the activities that you do, and the way that you talk about make the connection, the way you talk about 3 circles and gospel connections that you make, that you are going to see very specific language that really unpacks and throughout this month what it looks like of I can be made new. God makes me new when I respond to Jesus and have a relationship with him. So we're very, very cognizant, even as we talk about I am made new, I can be made new, God makes me new. All of that language we're going to continue to use so that we're really clear that there's a response that is required, right? And so that there is a pre-faith and there is an in the faith conversation. And so really we're excited about that because it opens the door for those conversations for you as leaders to be able to talk about, well, what does it mean to be made new? How am I made new? And to be able to really go deep and to have some really important and valuable conversations with your kids.
Yeah. Now, for students in particular, and that's middle, high school students in particular, we know that this language, while some of them are going to be in that pre-faith stage, many of them in many of our churches probably are going to be in the faith stage, and they're already living out their faith. Kayla, you and I talk about quite a bit that this idea of the shame culture that a lot of our students live in, that is really, in a way, it's kind of infiltrated from like Eastern worldview and kind of started making its way into Western worldview. And we know that social media and all of these things are really impacting this idea of brokenness and made new, and even kind of trickles into that I am valued truth that we've talked about on the last episode. How are we going to see? how we're going to navigate this with students, or where are some key places that this is going to be really, really strategic for students?
Yeah. We always want to be mindful of every age group, and that we are very specific with each one to be age appropriate. Mm-hmm. And like you said, with a lot of our older kids and with our students, our middle schoolers, our high schoolers, they may be in those I'm in the faith stages. And even on their faith journeys, they're questioning. There could be confusion. There could be doubt. There's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of shame that happens in our culture. And so even as we talk about, I am made new and I am forgiven, these are kind of two sides of the same coin a little bit. And how we talk about God's forgiveness of us, his completeness of his forgiveness, the identity that we receive, even if the identity that we say to ourselves is different than the identity that we actually have, right? So I'm thinking about a lot of Paul's language of put off and put on. This is who you are. Live in the identity that God has said and declared is true of you. And so for our students, we're really mindful to talk about shame, to talk about guilt, to talk about what it looks like to live into the identity that God has declared over you in a way that you can take hold of this. You can understand and capture it and believe it. You can let go of that shame that is holding you down. You don't have to shackle yourselves again to the shame that has already and the sin that has already been forgiven. And so we get to go and explore even deeper into this conversation with students, what it looks like to truly allow God's identity of you to reshape you, to reform you, to transform you, and what that looks like and how it transforms your mind and what you think about, how it transforms your identity, how it transforms your belonging, how it transforms your community, the people that you surround yourselves with. And so there's just a lot of directions that we get to go deeper with the student side of things and the older kids, while still maintaining on that preschool and younger kid side those foundational principles that they need to understand about what it looks like to be made new.
Yeah, I am so excited about the new levels of depth that this offers for some of our older in the faith group, to challenge them a little bit and challenge the status quo, as it were, of their spirituality. I'm really excited about that. Now, what about that other group, the leaders that we serve that are in our ministry, the volunteers that are in our ministry? How would you encourage them, or maybe even caution them as we go into this particular truth of I am made new, God makes me new?
Yeah. I think that as we walk into this new truth, this April, I think that, let me say that this truth is going to be in the month of April. And so you may know sometimes April is Easter, sometimes April is not Easter. But we thought that this was a great spot in the year. It's springtime. A lot of Easter kinds of things are happening either in March or April. And so just being culturally and calendar aware of where this truth is going to live for the next 3 years is really important. But also in those conversations of just being really clear of what I am made new means and what it doesn't mean, I think is really important as we talk about this truth, which we addressed earlier, but just to reinforce it here, to make sure that we are not assuming things that we shouldn't assume, or we're not using language with our students or our kids or even our preschoolers that would lead them to believe, oh, Jesus died for me. Okay, cool. I'm good. Moving on. That there really is a response that's needed. There is repentance and belief that has to transpire in order for that relationship to begin and to grow and to thrive. And so I think as we talk about being made new, there is both a one-time and a continual overtime. So there is an I am made new that happens at salvation, and there is a being made new in that transformation stage as God continues to grow and change and refine us.
Yeah. Kayla, thanks for your thought leadership on this. I think this is going to be so helpful for the ministries that we serve. Listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode, this bonus episode, even, as it were. So we hope this has been helpful to you as we start to unpack some of these this new truth that's coming in April for the next 3 years. Be sure to check out our other bonus episode, talk about I Am Valued. Again, point you to the Facebook community that we had the virtual unboxing video. There, look for the specific age group videos in the Facebook community, as well as some special blog posts that we've got coming out. And so be sure to check out those things to see all things that are pointed ahead as we start this new second cycle in September of 2026. And then that'll be a new 3-year cycle. So we're excited for that. Ministry leaders, we are so grateful. Thanks for tuning in again to this bonus episode, and know that we care about you and we're praying for you as you seek to make and create real connection and true belonging.